Everybody, welcome to episode 39 of the Photography Explained podcast. In this episode, what is street photography? I'm your host Rick, and each week I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 10 minutes without the irrelevant details. My aim is to explain things in just enough detail to help you and I with our photography and no more. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience which I share with you on my podcast. Okay, that's a reedy bit because I still can't remember it even all this way into episode 39, which is an amazing number. What is street photography? This is my answer, and I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really know what street photography was. It's not my thing, so it was interesting finding stuff out about it. Street photography is photographing public places and people in public places going about their daily business. Street photography often takes place without the knowledge of the subject, making the images look natural. Street photography is also known as candid photography. Street photography is a specialist genre of photography. Like I say, I didn't know that. I've heard of candid photography. I didn't know that it was now called street photography. Not going to lie to you, this one has been a bit of a struggle for me. Street photography is just not my thing. That's not a reason to not explain it. In fact, it's more of a reason to explain it because I need to learn about it and appreciate it because I want to learn stuff as well myself. So, let's have a look. I'm going to start now. Something I've started doing recently is I've been putting questions from Google in and answering them, which I find quite interesting because it's we know that it's things that people are asking. So let's get those questions answered right now. So what, and I keep on saying so, which I must stop saying because when I'm reading my transcripts, every sentence seems to start with so. So, what is street photography used for? Just kidding. Websites, magazine articles, various publications. You know those photos you see of people walking down a street, that kind of thing. People chatting, people having little moments together. It's that stuff really. That is street photography. Point number 2. Sorry, I forgot again to say point number 1. I quite like numbering things. It gives me a bit of order and structure, which if you met me, you'd realise I need. So, why do I love street photography? Well, I don't. Not going to lie to you. I don't do it. I've looked into it, and it's not something I'm going to embark on myself. I think I've dismissed street photography for years with absolutely no justification behind it. There's nothing at all wrong with street photography. If that's what you love doing, great. It's just not for me. Don't forget, I photograph buildings. I photograph things that don't move without people in them. Well, there's people in buildings, but you know what I mean. Number 3, how do you do street photography? Well, you just get out there and take photos of things of interest, people doing stuff. I think that's about it, really. I don't want to sound like I'm oversimplifying this. Let's move on. Is street photography legal? Yes, in general terms. Now, there could be some issues around privacy and photographing organisations such as the police, security services and everything. But in general terms, taking photographs in public places is, I believe, illegal. You get into complicated issues around celebrities, what people are doing and everything. But my simple take on life is, if someone wants to take a photograph of me when I'm on a street, that's fine. It won't be very interesting because I'm not a very interesting person. Right, what is good street photography? Well, good street photography, that's an image that's interesting, captures a moment and tells a story. A good photo is one that makes you want to keep looking at it. If you glance at it and then move on, then wasn't a great photo, was it? Next one, number 6. Is street photography creepy? This is this is one of the people also ask questions on Google, which quite surprised me. I'd never thought of this one. Is it creepy? No, it's not. Well, it shouldn't be anyway. I guess it could be if someone taking photographs, easy for me to say. Do you know something? I've just learned how to say composition, but failed to say photograph. I'm really worried about my lack of ability to speak my native tongue. No, it's not creepy, but it could be, but it shouldn't be. Yeah, there are people out there who have, well, what's the best way of putting it? A wayward moral compass. But I'm sure none of those are listening, so yes, I'm sure we're all fine. Another Google question. What is the best aperture for street photography? Now, believe it or not, f5.6 was shouting out as the answer. f5.6 it is then. 8's probably fine. What lens is best for street photography? Well, I've got a Canon 24-105 lens, which I use as a general walk-around lens, which if I was doing street photography, I guess I'd use, and that appears on the list of most popular lenses. But in general terms, lenses in the 35mm to 100mm focal length, that's on a full-frame camera, with a large maximum aperture, appear to be the preferred lens of choice for a street photographer. What's the best camera for street photography? What's the best camera? The impossible question to ask. Now, I reckon a small and discreet camera, such as a Micro Four Thirds camera, would be just the thing. Don't forget, if you're using a Micro Four Thirds camera, the 50mm lens on a Micro Four Thirds camera is actually 100mm. Just bear that one in mind. Number 10, do I do street photography? See, I have actually researched this. I've gone into quite a bit of detail on it, and I got one of the most structured answers ever. There's some good learning in this one for me. Do I do street photography? No, I do not. I've never done it. I photograph buildings and construction sites. If I'm photographing a site on a busy high street, I wait for ages for people to be there. Sorry. If I'm photographing a site, as in a construction site or a building on a busy high street, I wait for ages for there to be no people there. I'm sure I could have worded that better, but no, I do not. Can you make a living from street photography? Well, I guess you can. I'm not sure how, to be honest with you, because everyone has a phone these days. But then again, a phone won't get you as good a photo as a proper camera. I won't say professional camera because that's quite patronising. Proper camera. The demand, however, for street images for online uses, because there's more websites than ever now, that must be higher than ever. Yeah, I'm sure there are people out there who are making a very good living from street photography, but I suspect not that many. Yes, you can, but as with all these types of photography, you need to do that one thing and do it very well and become known for it. Do you need specialist knowledge? No, anyone can do this, but knowledge will help. Knowledge in your photographic technique, processing, your awareness of the outdoors and great locations. So this isn't specialist knowledge, and that's part of the problem. Anybody can gain that knowledge quite quickly. Yeah, anyone can do it. 13. How do I start as a street photographer? Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to, but what you need to do is this. Get out there and take photos in the street. While you're doing it, try to take different things. Don't do the same thing that everybody else has done. I hate that. Find your own thing. Find your own little specialism. 14. Is there any point in street photography? Now, the reason I put this one in is because I thought there wasn't. And just by the brief looking into it I've done, when I say brief, I've spent a decent amount of time looking at it and at street photography images, and it doesn't do it for me. I'm not going to lie to you, but that doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it. We're all different. We all like to do different things. It'd be a very, very dull world if everybody liked to do what I do. So street photography is just as valid as any other type of photography, and if you want to go out and do it, go for it. Okay, my one-line summary. Street photography is photographing public places and people in public places. That's my one-liner. So what? So I've done it again. What do I want you to do now? 1. Do this one thing. Go out and take some street photos. Number 2. Let me know how you get on Twitter. I'm at RickPhoto. You might want to share a photo. Number 3, subscribe to my podcast if you enjoyed this episode. This helps me. Number 4, rate and review my podcast if you enjoyed this episode. This also helps me. Number 5, tell someone you know about my podcast. This also helps me as well. As I've said on most episodes now, I do need all the help I can get. Next episode. Yeah, according to my script, and yes, believe it or not, I do have a script. I said I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going next. Then I had inspiration. I'm going to do product photography. That's quite an exciting one, that, because I did one product photography. I did 2, actually, that went surprisingly well, and the equipment cost surprisingly little, but I've said too much. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast. Check out my website, rickmcevoyphotography.com, where you can find out all about me and my architectural and construction photography work, as well as my blog, where you can learn lots more about photography. And also check out my Photography Explained podcast, nearly finished, where you can find out how to ask me a question, find a list of episodes, and also things I'm going to explain in future episodes. Like I say, a lot of work going on with that now, and it's looking good. I'm quite happy with it. So this episode was brought to you very much by the power of caffeine, another unsponsored plug. One day there'll be a name in there. I've been Rick McEvoy, getting a bit throaty, a bit coldy again. That's not good news, is it? Thanks again very much for listening to me and for giving me 11 and a half minutes of your valuable time. And I will see you on the next episode. Cheers from me, Rick.